kitchen that also doubled as a bedroom for the boys. Anyway, we were a content Christian family. It was the 31st of October, and we were only 7 at home. My oldest sister was out, and Mum was at work. Me being the second one, I was in charge. It was about 7 p.m, and we were all in the living room minding our business. Some of us playing with some toys, I was painting, a few were watching TV, and it was quite peaceful, just waiting for Mum to come home. Suddenly, my younger brother said, "Hey guys, did you hear that?" We turned the TV volume down and listened. From across the hallway that were connecting the two main rooms, we could all clearly hear a repetitive, high-pitched banging. It was just as like someone was repeatedly hitting a spoon on a cup. We all stood frozen. It went on for a few minutes, and then we stopped. All bundled up together, we slowly crept our way to the kitchen. On the table, there was some stuff like bread butter, a jar with a spoon in it. We just ate and didn't put the stuff away. We got close and tried to mix the jam with the spoon, and surely enough, it was the same sound. At this point, we didn't know what the deal was, and we were really creeped out. The sound we heard couldn't have been produced by something like the wind or other exterior forces. It was a very deliberate, and it went on for a few minutes, so not just a spoon falling off or something like that. We put the things away and went back to the living room. This is when the horror really started. I kid you not, around the whole house there were unexplained bangings. We could hear footsteps in the hallway, above us from the attic, around us from the walls. We all started crying and got in bed, all bundled up, praying. It all went like this for a few minutes, and suddenly we heard the house door open. It was Mum. She came back from work, and it all stopped. Needless to say, we all jumped on her, hugging and crying. We told her what happened, and she was shocked. We never had an experience like that, and when we got together, we sometimes talk about it. It was one of the most scariest things that had ever happened to us. We all heard the same things. We didn't see anything, but the sounds were real. We think it might have been something like a demonic attack that wanted to create fear in us in one of the darkest nights of the year. Did any of you experience something like this? Oh, very creepy. That is true. I mean, they say the veil is very thin on Halloween night, so you never know. So this next one is titled Happy Halloween. I'll share an old story. So, we only lived in the house for a couple of years. We moved in when I was 10 or 11 and left before I turned 13. There was a couple of odd things that happened in that house, but there's just one that I wanted to share today. My brother and I shared a bedroom on the second floor. My bed was closer to the bedroom door, and his was closer to the windows. One night, I was laying in bed. All the lights were out, and our bedroom door was open. The head of my bed was positioned against the wall as the door, so I couldn't see into the hallway unless I sat up in bed and turned towards it. As I was lying in bed, I began to hear music coming from downstairs, and I recognized it as a song that plays in a certain town in one of the video games that we had for the PS2. I felt pretty spooked because I was like, what the hell? How is that possible? No one's downstairs. I think I was too afraid to wake my brother, and eventually I guess I just fell asleep. This didn't happen often. It only happened maybe a couple of more times. I forget. But each time I felt a sense of dread, that sort of fear that grips you and stops you from moving. I would pass it off as some type of audio hallucination, but my older sister came to visit once, and me, her, and my older brother were downstairs in the living room. We were staying up kind of late, and the conversation had turned to ghosts and paranormal, when suddenly music started to play from upstairs. It wasn't the same song I would always hear. This time it was some sort of music that my sister listened to. When it started playing, we all suddenly paused in what we were saying, and there was an uneasy silence between us as we listened for a moment. But then, one of my siblings started talking again, and we all just went on like nothing had happened. I guess the music eventually faded. I can't help but wonder what I would have seen, if anything, had I gone down to the living room by myself on one of those nights. Anyways, have a happy Halloween weekend, everyone. Stay safe. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. If is titled The Halloween Store Ghost. I was working at Spirit Halloween Store in 2019. While I was working, primarily taking costumes and props out of boxes and stacking them throughout the store, I saw a ghost. I remember seeing this invisible man kind of thing, like I could see the outline of a person, but see through all the way. The ghost was going through these boxes, and they were moving by themselves and closed by themselves. It's hard to describe what I saw, but I always wondered what it was. I call it the Halloween Store Ghost. Very creepy, short and cute. I mean, we don't have Spirit Halloween stores here in the UK, but I know of them in America, and I'm pretty sure they just go into like empty stores, right? So it could be like a haunted place, you never know. Okay, so I think we've got a theme going on here. This next one is titled Haunted Home Depot Store. I've been working at the Home Depot for the last 5 years, and it is common knowledge with some associates that have been with the store that this place is actually haunted. But by who? We're not sure. There have been at least 3 deaths of employees, one in the store, and I have taken to calling the ghost Barb because that was the name of the lady who was electrocuted when she was in the store. She has shown her presence to myself and at least 2 other employees in ways that were playful and terrifying. She spent the evening screaming on the other side of the store for hours apparently one evening, and always on the other side whenever anyone investigates. She spent the entire evening playing with a new paper towel dispenser while I was working overnight. You could hear the hand mechanism being used over and over in the ladies' room for about an hour, then she stopped. The machine was fine the following day, and only in the ladies' room. Another time, she made her presence known by grabbing a lady's apron while she watched it happen in front of her. The apron was grabbed and pushed clear across the room. Apparently, she also likes to unlock the stall in the bathroom too. Another time, while I was working using a phone to check stock, the phone froze. I pulled the small battery from the back to force it to reset, and in doing so, I dropped the battery. I watched it fall in front of me, and at some point before hitting the ground, it crackled out of existence right in front of my eyes. I saw it go from being in front of me to not being anywhere, and it made a weird little crackle as it went. I got off the ladder I was on and looked in boxes in front of me to no avail. I even used a paint stick to try to slide it out from underside of the shelving. I thought it might have gone under there, but it wasn't there. So I thought, well, I'll find it later, I guess. I walked to the front office to get another battery, and when I got back, actually standing on the floor directly in front of the ladder I was working on was the little black battery. I know it couldn't have been there when I was on my knees looking for it, because I was all over the spot. I guess Barb was having fun. She does it to new people too. Sometimes it scares them, but she's harmless. And I know what I saw. I saw a solid object cease to exist, then just present itself a few minutes later. You might not expect it in retail, but it's fun. Yeah, I guess if it's harmless and it's fun, it makes the shift go faster, I guess. Maybe. That's how I would think anyway. Okay, so this last one I'm going to tell is titled Halloween Experience at the Office. A lot of work-related ghost stories here on Halloween. I wanted to share the only instance of paranormal weirdness that has ever happened to me. I work in New York City in the financial district, more specifically the former residence of Thomas Jefferson. It's a big office building now that houses many city departments and businesses. Last Halloween was a typical work day for me, since I work in IT. Rarely get the chance to leave my desk because the phone never stops ringing. This day was particularly taxing, so I took a later lunch than usual. The routine is pretty simple. Go out, have a cigarette, grab food, run back, and eat at my desk. As I go out to smoke, I notice that the lobby is emptier than usual. Pretty normal since I'm getting lunch at 3 p.m. I walk outside, fumble around my pockets for cigarettes and lighter when I realise I don't have my wallet. Great, I've got to go back up and get it. I find a bench, light up, and have my smoke. The sky gets dark, inside. As I start walking towards the elevator area, I see a guy walking into an elevator car. He looked like a typical office worker. He seemed to be in his 50s, white shirt, brown khaki pants, no tie. The general look of a man who gave up on his dreams for a stable income. You know, the usual. That's funny. I do what every New Yorker does when someone's taking an elevator ride up. Yo, hold the elevator. The guy looked right at me and kept walking. Fuck that. I ran to the elevator lobby just as the door was closing and thrust my hand out just in time to trip the door sensor. Thankfully, I still had my hand, but as I turned to board the elevator with every intention of making this the most awkward elevator ride for the guy ever, the car was empty. Oh my gosh, what the heck? I poked my head out of the car and looked around to check the other elevators on the same side, but they were all listed to be in the lobby, by the indicators near the arrow lights. I walked over to the security desk, which is in front of the elevator lobby, and asked the guard if he saw anyone take an elevator before me, but they didn't notice anyone. I went back to my office, grabbed my wallet, and decided to get some food anyway. On the way out, I told the receptionist what happened, since we were arguing earlier about how I didn't believe in ghosts, so she thought I was just messing with her, and we both started laughing. Then her laughter stopped with a heavy pause as she pointed to the doorway of the IT room. The lights in the room were flickering in unpredictable bursts. We laughed again, but with less humour than before. An awkward pause filled conversation, and I decided that this was the right time to leave and get some food. On my return, I asked the receptionist if the room flickered while I was away, and she was saying no, the room flickered again, and I determined to find the source of the flickering. What if the server room has been affected? I thought. But as soon as I walked into the room, the flickering stopped. Checked the server room. There was no power issues either. I walked back to my desk, ate lunch, and thought about what really just happened. To this day, I wonder if some office guy ever died in the building and is just reliving his day-to-day routine, never to pass on because he hasn't clocked out yet. Oh my god, how depressing is that? Like, you have a boring work life and then you die and you still keep doing it. Oh my god, could you imagine? I love that though, like typical New Yorker, just like, what the heck is going on? I'm gonna make this elevator ride uncomfortable for you. So those were some creepy, fun Halloween stories on Reddit for you. Again, I like reading them. You don't know if they're real or not, so it's kind of fun to guess. But yeah, I hope you have a creepy rest of your day,